All right. We're connected to computer audio. Can you guys hear me? I guess we won't know until the end. Hopefully they heard all of that stuff I said before, but
If you didn't, we're your real estate guides, and these are our first 2 proven steps in a 7-step strategy on how to go about the home buying process. And it's been proven because we've done it with hundreds of people.
exactly. Hundreds. Yeah.
Now they can hear us.
Oh, now you can hear us. Okay, awesome. Thanks, Antoine. Perfect. So now do you want to start over? I've said a lot and then nobody heard that. Okay. So
okay.
yes.
Keep moving.
I'm gonna keep moving. I'm Joseph. This is Lauren. We're gonna take you through our home buying process, the first 2 steps of our proven 7-step strategy on getting you into a home and walking you through that home buying process. All right. And Lauren, I'll let you start off if you want.
Okay. So first of all, we have the 7-step proven strategy on how to purchase a home. Now, obviously, we're only going over 2 today because it can be very confusing. And if you go all at once, sometimes it just gets a little lost. So we're going to go over the first 2. So on our home buying roadmap, we're going to pull up our screen real quick. We can see it. Okay.
You can see it. Perfect. All right. Your home buying roadmap. Part 1.
Oh
no.
All right. So your home buying roadmap. So this is just the first cutoff, but we're going to start off with strategy because strategy is the most important part of your home buying process. And if you don't start off with a good strategy, it's probably not going to go well.
Right. You've probably heard it said before, but those who fail to plan to fail.
Yeah.
And that's not something that we want our buyers to do. We don't want them to fail at buying a home. We want them to succeed. And so that's why we plan first. And this is all a part of that strategy. So the first is find a realtor you can trust. So a realtor you can trust, what does that mean exactly?
Right.
Because a lot of people trust their friends, their family, and that's typically who people will go with if they have a friend or family in the business, which is great, but make sure they are someone you trust as well. So that means more than just being your friend. We are, as realtors, bound by confidentiality, and we have certain duties that even if we are your friends, there's certain things that we have to abide by and we can't do outside of a business relationship. So just keep that in mind. You want someone who is not just in it for the money, obviously, that's not just in it just to get clout, but someone who genuinely has your best interest at heart, that genuinely wants to help you buy a home. And be it whoever, you want to make sure that person is someone that you trust and you're willing to work with and will put 100% faith in, because you're going to need that. It's a difficult process. Scratch that. It's not a simple process, but it is easy, if it makes sense. Sorry, it's not easy, but it's simple. There we go.
It's all right. Take 3.
There you go.
But like Joseph said, it can be very simple. I mean, I've had clients that they're like, I didn't even realize I bought a home because people said it's so stressful. And you hear other people's horror stories and you're like, oh my goodness. So you have to find the person that you trust, because really you're almost like in a relationship with your realtor, because we know so much about you. And that's a good thing. Don't think not telling your realtor something will save you, because in the end it probably won't. Being open and honest with your realtor will save you time, hassle, and money. So that you want to have that open trust. Exactly.
And that leads me to my next point too. So a realtor that you can trust, you want to be open and honest with this person. And you also see in here the strategic home buying consultation. What that means is doing kind of what we're doing now, but sitting down with you and breaking everything down. And that means sitting down. Most of the time we like to have a lender there as well, because I think you said it earlier today, the realtor, the client, and the lender, they're all in it together. So like we have to make sure that everybody knows what's going on. So disclose everything that you can possible, because everything you possibly can, because if you don't, again, it can lead to frustration down the line. Sometimes you want to be ridiculously honest with your realtors and your lender. Tell them every single thing, things that you might not even if you wake up from a dream about something financial that you did in the past, tell them about it. because even if it doesn't affect them right now, they need to know. Later on down the line, you don't want something popping back up that's going to tank an entire transaction and you lose out on a home of your dreams.
Yeah, absolutely.
Simple as that.
Absolutely, yeah. And the great thing about a home buyer's consultation is that they are free. They're free to do, and it really only takes 45 minutes to an hour of your time. And that 45 minutes to an hour can save you so much money and, frustration. Just knowing what to expect from your realtor and your lender can solve all the problems just right then and there. And so when you meet with them, I always like to get on the same page with everybody because I hate having to go. It's like a game of telephone. If not, I'm going to call Joseph, and then Joseph calls me, and then I'm going to call someone else, and then they call me, and then I got to tell Joseph. It doesn't work. You all just need to come together and have a same page meeting, basically, and just work out what we can together, because one mind is not as great as three, because Joseph might think of something that I didn't think of. And so that's why you got a mastermind and kind of just get in the mud.
Pretty much. Yeah. And when you think about it this way too, you're talking about a big part of your financial future.
Yeah.
Buying a home is a big financial transaction.
Yeah.
So you're definitely going to be integral in that process. And by being upfront and honest with the people, your partners that you are working with to achieve one goal, that's imperative.
Yeah.
Just make sure that you are, again, honest. Any decision maker that's in the process. So if you have someone else that's a part of the process that's helping fund you, is also going to be in a loan with you, is also going to live in the house with you, they need to be there as well, because there's nothing worse than being in a transaction and having other input from people that are actually a part of the decision-making process and we weren't aware of it.
Right.
So yeah, again, make sure everybody's involved that needs to be involved, and make sure everything's disclosed that needs to be disclosed. Tell us everything.
Yeah, seriously, it can help so much. It seems like such a little thing, but maybe that one small payment that you made could throw everything off and waste you thousands of dollars. I've seen it before, and I'm pretty sure Joe has as well.
Oh gosh. Yes.
And it tears us up inside because we think of what we could have done better, but also what could we have done to prevent this? So we always just start with that. Be as honest as you can with us, because in the end, I'm going to be your advisor, but after we close, we're going to be best friends because I know everything about you.
There you go. And that brings me to another point as well, as about strategy. There's more than one way to do this. Obviously, we have a guideline, but there are different things that we can think of along the way, that lenders think of along the way, that can help you in certain situations. So that keeps us able to navigate through the market. And essentially, you want us to be tacticians, someone who's tactical, able to operate. And one person I always think about being a master tactician is, pardon my nerdiness, but Batman. If you had Batman on your side, remember, he's a contingency for every problem and for every situation. Someone like that, that's thinking for you on your side, I would love to have Batman on my team. So when it comes to buying a home, think of your realtor as your Batman, and you are the Justice League. So just go with it. Now, let's see, we got one more slide here. The next part of that proven process is going to be your financing. So we've touched on that already a little bit with make sure you have a lender that you trust as well, or a realtor that you trust, and as well as you also want a lender that you trust too. Someone who's preferably local, but I can't discount everybody who's not local, but I'll say a lot of lenders we work with are local lenders that are able to, they've been here for a while, they know our market, they're able to see things a little bit differently than just some random online lender.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. To piggyback off of that, local lenders have a lot of, I would say, more buy-in. And what buy-in means is that they know our market, kind of like Joe said. And with them knowing our market and how things work in Indiana or even in Lafayette, can help you greatly, because if you have Johnny in Florida who's helping you, he knows Florida. He doesn't really know Indiana, but he may not have the programs that we have here in Indiana. He's only limited to so many programs. So it's good to explore your options and just to see. I mean, if that lender in Florida has the same program, absolutely, but make sure you're getting the best bang for your buck.
Essentially, and there's like no obligation to
Mhm.
working with either of us, like the lender or the realtor. Honestly, if we are not meeting your standard or what you need, shop around.
Yeah.
And that's why we say get someone that you can trust. And going into it, if you're going to get pre-approved, you're going to be sitting down with people and going over the home buying process. I want to say get pre-approved first.
Yeah.
For sure. And that's where a mortgage application comes in. You apply for the mortgage,
Right.
with all of your, essentially all of the things that are helping you financially. So where you work, your credit history, everything is all in the application. By filling that out, that allows for you to be as transparent with your lender as possible.
Yeah.
And they will essentially run your credit, making sure that everything checks out. So that way they can see what programs are available for you as far as loans, as far as how much you'll be able to afford. A big thing that I see a lot of buyers do or come into when they come in with a certain expectation, they're like, oh, I want this house, but I only want to pay this much. A lot of times they don't realize what the correlation is with that, like how much your home is versus how much you pay per month.
Right.
So it's like price versus monthly payment. What we like to do is say, what are you comfortable with paying monthly? Because the overall price doesn't matter if you can't make that monthly payment.
Right.
And our goal is to help you get into a house, be able to stay in the house and not run the risk of foreclosure. So what can you afford monthly? Unfortunately for us, with the lenders that we go through, they like to break it down that way as well.
Yeah.
So they can probably approve you for a lot more if, you're pretty much everything that you have, your bank account, bank statements, your job history, all that says, hey, this person can't actually afford up to this amount, but we want to go off of what you are comfortable with.
Yeah.
Because again, you're the one that has to live in the house.
Right. Yeah. Because you can always because personally, I've had a couple clients that they could get pre-approved for way more, but what they're comfortable with monthly is what we go off of, because we don't want 2008 to happen again, where you could go out and get this, but could you afford it monthly? You don't want to be real estate rich and real life poor. So we want to make sure that you're able to, still go get groceries and, not live paycheck to paycheck. We want to make it a little bit easier.
Right.
Because we do see that with renters and whatnot. So, and I will say the difference between a pre-approval and a pre-qualification is all the difference. So if you do a mortgage application, that means you get a pre-approval. If someone just sends you a pre-qualification off what you told them, that does not help. And that doesn't always guarantee that you could actually afford that.
Right.
So definitely make sure that, hey, does this actually mean I'm good for this amount? Yes or no? Like, am I pre-approved for this, or are you just qualifying me off what I told you? Because say I worked at McDonald's, but I told you I worked at, SIA, that's a big difference. So just make sure okay, am I qualified, pre-qualified or pre-approved? It's the slightest word change can mean the world.
Yeah. And a big difference between that too is like style versus substance. What I told you versus what is actually the deal. That pre-approval application, that mortgage application that you goes through an entire process of checking your credit, checking your employment history, checking everything. So if some things come up that you weren't forthcoming with, then we run into some issues, which is why a pre-qualification that's just based off purely what you say can get you into trouble later on down the road. So you want to be careful with that. And as we've gone through these processes several times, hundreds of times, we've run into that a few times. Luckily, or in our younger stages, most of the newer realtors I know will sometimes get a little confused on that. But that pre-approval is what you need.
Right.
Yeah. Pre-qual will just be like, hey, we're in the market and we're spinning our wheels because it turns out we actually can't afford what we thought we could.
Right. Yeah. And make sure when you're shopping around for a lender, check the Google reviews. It's kind of like looking for an agent you trust. You go for someone that maybe your friend closed with, or maybe you've heard good things about. make sure you hear the good things about your lender as well,
Mhm.
because I think me and Joe have had our equally fair shares of not great lenders.
Mhm.
So make sure that they are able to do the job well for you, because in the end, this is your biggest asset probably. So
Right.
we want to make sure that it's with a good company and that, they're not
Yeah.
gonna
They're-
make
they're-
anything go awry.
Exactly. So that's pretty much the biggest thing. Find someone you can trust,
Yeah,
realtor and lender. And then step two of that, also the second part of step two, is obtain a pre-approval letter. So that's how you know if you actually are pre-approved or not. It's a pre-approval letter or a pre-qualification letter.
yeah,
Typically, that pre-approval letter has no other stipulations. It doesn't say contingent upon X amount or whatever.
right.
It says, hey, at this point, this person is pre-approved for this amount. It allows for you to say, all right, if I'm going to go into a situation, I know exactly what I can do when it comes to making an offer, and what that breakdown is going to look like when it comes to me paying my bills. Having a pre-approval letter too, essentially in this market, is going to be imperative because of how competitive the market is.
Yes,
You're going to want a piece of paper saying, I'm good for this money. If
right.
I'm going to be making offers on a property, if any agent is a good agent and they're looking at all the offers that come through and they're going to show their seller, they're going to be looking at pre-approvals. They're going to be making sure people are pre-approved.
Yeah,
So if you go in with a wish and a prayer, it's a lot different.
yeah,
You're going to end up getting beat out by a lot of people who actually took the time to go through this process and are firing on all cylinders, where you're just getting your foot out of the gate. So you definitely want to be careful with that. That pre-approval letter is your proof of funds.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I mean, this applies for cash as well, because for cash buyers, 1 in a million chance that, I will ever be a cash buyer, but anybody could say, oh yeah, I got that much money in cash. You have to have the proof of funds. And being both a buyer and a seller's agent, you want to see that they have that money to back it up. So you don't want to just say, oh yeah, I like that offer. They promised a lot. You can promise, but can you fulfill?
Exactly. And that comes down to confidence
Yes.
too. A seller wants to have confidence in the person that's offering on their home. I would want to feel confident about a buyer being able to perform and actually purchase my home.
Yes.
I want to feel confident that I have a buyer that's willing to go that extra mile and get that pre-approval and knows exactly what they can afford and is making a strong offer. Something that you can't really I don't know. It's hard to, you can't fake it if it's real. You know what I mean? So this would be the point in the consultation where I would ask the client if they understood, but since I can't hear you guys, I'm fighting the urge to say, does that make sense? So I'm doing it to her, really. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So those are the first two steps. And believe me, we could probably continue to dive even deeper into this and be here for like 3 hours. But I think we've covered the big parts, the basics of finding that person that you can trust, realtor and lender, getting your pre-approval, making sure you know exactly what strategy you're going to use to get into a home, and what your price range is. Finding out, okay, I know how much I can afford and I feel comfortable being in this price range.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And you want to make sure that you can afford it and everything's good to go. You want to make sure all the boxes and your I's are dotted, T's are crossed. You want to make sure everything's in order. That way, when we start house shopping, there's no question marks. It's just, I love this home. What do I have to do to get it? And that's exactly why people that want more information like this sit down with people like me and Joe, because we can deep dive and just go into all of this information and go, what questions do you have? And hopefully none, because we try to explain ourselves pretty well.
Yeah, going through a consultation with us you're pretty well versed in what that market's expecting of you. We don't expect you to remember everything.
Yeah.
We do expect you though to ask questions if you
Yeah.
are not getting something,
Yeah.
because we will ask you questions as well.
All the time.
And just remember, there are no stupid questions.
Yeah.
Even if we've talked about it several times before, we are more than happy to explain things again, because we don't want you assuming something or being too afraid to ask a question and then going ahead and doing something that could ruin
Yeah.
your chances of getting a home.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
There are no dumb questions. Even if you've asked me 5 times, trust me, I do it all the time. I ask questions probably 5 times. And then I'm like, wait, what?
Mhm.
Just ask. Keep asking, make notes, ask us for notes. Hey, can you make note of this? Absolutely, I can.
Mhm.
But keep asking questions. It helps us understand what you're thinking. I would love to be able to read minds, but I can't.
Mhm.
And so it just helps us knowing that, hey, they might have a question about this. Let me go over it with them again.
Yeah.
So there are no dumb questions. Just ask.
At all. And speaking of reading minds, though, if you know your client well enough, sometimes you can guess what they're thinking.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's the level we want to be on, though, is knowing our client so well that we can look at them and say, you really want this house, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah, I've had a couple of those where it's like, you think what I'm thinking?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go all in.
Yeah. And that's the great part is once you get to know your clients that well, where you can just look at them and know, okay, they actually want this house. Those are the people you maintain the relationships with, and we really want to maintain relationships with all of our clients.
Exactly.
So we want to know all of our clients like that.
And there's going to be an overall theme for this. Number one thing that we try to focus on, and I think this is what is going to be the underlying for everything, is communication.
Yeah.
Because by being upfront with everything, you're communicating with your lender, with your realtor. By being upfront with everything, you're just making sure it's all out in the open. On top of that, asking questions, communicating.
Yeah.
If your realtor and your lender are asking you questions, that's good. You want to make sure that they're trying to find out more about you. They're trying to communicate. We try to communicate or over communicate as much as possible.
Yeah.
So there are no surprises. And there might be times where we just reach out to you just to see how you're doing.
Yeah.
And that's okay, because we want to make sure, how are you going through this process? What are your thoughts? Is there anything on your mind that worries you? We just want to make sure it's all out front.
Yeah, because I see it a lot because you can do a simple check-in and be like, hey, maybe we're under contract, and they're like, hey, like, I don't know about this. Maybe my family member said this. And it's like, okay, well, ask. If you don't ask, then you can take Jim Bob's advice, but ask someone, get other opinions, because one opinion versus 5, I would rather have 5 people's opinion and get every viewpoint I can than just go off of, well, I know this, and that's what I'm going off of.
There you go.
I would rather just ask and just know.
There you go.
Have the peace of mind. Having peace is the number one thing.
There's a lot of number one things. Communication, peace is a lot of number ones.
Yeah.
But for real, communication.
Yeah.
All right. And I'm gonna jump to the next slide here. All right. If you want some more information, contact Lauren or myself.
Yeah.
These are our QR codes, so feel free to scan those with your computer, and you can get in touch with either one of us.
You can also screenshot it and like save it for later.
There you go. So that way you know how to get a hold of us.
Those are actually really cool. I like that.
They are. And
our team's awesome.
Yeah, gosh. Shout out to Amanda for setting this up.
Yeah.
Our director of operations, she's done a phenomenal job. It was pretty much plug and play for us from here on out.
Yeah.
Which gives us more time to serve our clients and serve the community. So yeah, we're gonna open it up to any specific questions. Does anybody have any questions about anything? How do I pull up the chat? Is there a chat?
It's up there.
Oh yeah, there we go. All right, pull the chat up.
Wait.
I don't know.
You just closed it.
I just closed. Okay, here we go. Cool. All right.
So any questions?
Any question? No?
Give them a minute.
We'll give you a minute. Oh, all right. We'll give you a minute.
Antoine, any questions?
Any questions? No? Okay. Well, I believe that concludes today's session.
Yeah.
Today's webinar. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. But remember, find someone you can trust and
communicate with them.
Communicate with them. Yes. Yes. The next slide. So the next webinar that we do is going to be
Part
featuring part two, featuring Scott, our business partner, Scott, and I will return. Don't worry, Lauren's going to be back too for another one later down the road. But during this section, we will be discussing the next steps in the home buying consultation or the home buying process. So strategies to get your offer accepted and what upfront costs to expect. So I know that's a big question a lot of people have.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that people are very weary of when they come in, because they're like, I don't know how much I need or what. So anytime you even think about, oh, I might buy a home at some point, consultation, reach out to somebody you trust
Yep.
and get that set, get it.
And you
Get a
can
strategy.
save your seat with the link.
Yes.
So if you forget, just go ahead, take a screenshot. That way you have it for later.
Mhm.
It's March 1st, so you got some time, but we'll keep reminding you as well. Oops, sorry, I hit the microphone.
There you go.
But yeah, save your seat. Come and learn more about the home buying process. I mean, first 2 steps, could you imagine the next few?
Mhm.
It's been amazing. So just come back for more amazingness.
Come back for more. Well, yeah, that'll conclude our time. Thank you,
Yeah.
Lauren,
No, thank
for
you.
doing what you do.
Is there any other?
Were there any other questions?
Nope,
Nope.
I don't see any.
No other questions. All right.
So we're gonna
Stop the share
share.
and then we're gonna end the session.
All right. Well, thanks for coming out, guys.
Bye, guys.
Even if it's on
Wednesday.
a recording.
Oh.
It's okay. We'll see you later.
Bye.